so it must be pretty bad. It was fine coming in from Tyler this morning. Roads were fine for me, so.
All right, good morning, council. Can everyone see and hear me okay?
Yes, Judge.
All right, who do we have that may be ready this morning? I've got a slew of people in my online waiting room. Instead of me trying to figure that out, I thought I'd let you figure that out for me. Mr. Weiner, who do you have this morning?
Judge, I have Wendy Jones. It's a first setting and agreed terms.
Wendy Jones. And I do not see a Wendy Jones in my waiting room.
Okay, let me pull up her phone
Mr. Sminner, who do you have?
Luis Leija, L-E-I-J-A.
All right, Mr. Leija is coming in. Hopefully.
He assured me that he uses Zoom at work and he knows what he's doing.
Okay. Looks like he's getting right now.
Chris, I must say I like your beard. I hadn't seen you in a couple of years. You look good.
It's just a Sharpie. That's all it is. I just draw it on.
Well, I like the way you smattered it with a little bit of salt and pepper there.
Yeah, it's Grecian gray. I color that in so I can look.
Yeah, you really look extinguished.
Extinguished. Yeah, I got that. That's a bad joke. You need to let that one die. Mr. Leija, we got your video on. Let me ask you to unmute, sir. All right. Good morning, Mr. Leija. Can you see and hear me okay? All right. I can see you. It shows that you're unmuted, but I do not hear you. Can you raise your hand if you can hear me, Mr. Leija? Okay, good. All right, Mr. Sminner, this is cause number CR 17204, State versus Luis Leija. This is a hearing on Mr. Leija's motion to revoke. Do you have any announcements?
Your Honor, Mr. Curry and I have been discussing this, and they're going to place him back on probation, extend it 6 years, and he is going to catch up with $1,633 that he owes to the clerk's office within the next few weeks. She said that they would allow him 2 or 3 weeks to do that. And she wants that 6 years to start from the date of this court setting.
Okay. So we need to set him up then. How about, but how much time do you think he needs to get caught up to where he can take advantage of that offer?
He indicated to me they needed a couple of weeks, just maybe on the safe side, if we give him 3 weeks, if that's possible, so he can get caught up with his financial obligations.
You available on March 11th?
Let's see. March 11th. Is that a morning setting or?
Yes, sir. That would be a morning setting.
I can be. I've got something in Dallas, but I think it'll be passed.
Okay. And is that setting at 9 or?
Yes, sir. It's at 9.
Okay.
I think it's going to be passed.
Okay. And if it's not, if you'll just notify our court, then Mr. Leija can check in and then you can just appear between 9 and 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Leija, I'm going to go ahead and set you for a hearing on your motion to revoke, hopefully to resolve the case on March 11th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Sminner will be given the new Zoom ID number. And if you don't get a hold of Mr. Sminner, then you can always contact the court and the court will provide you with the Zoom ID. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Leija. You're free to go. Is that all you have, Mr. Sminner?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Eastland, who do you have?
I have Eric Rodriguez Castro.
All right. I've seen him in here somewhere.
I spoke with him on the phone just a little while ago, and he was waiting in the waiting room. There you go.
All right, Mr. Castro, can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, and can you see and hear your attorney, Mr. Eastland?
Sir.
Yes.
Okay, if you're on your phone or a small tablet, you may have to move left or right if you want to see him, but I assure you he is present in our hearing. Mr. Eastland, this is cause number CR 2358, State versus Eric Gerardo Rodriguez Castro, and we're set for pretrial today. Do you have any contested pretrial motions?
Well, I filed several motions, and I talked with Hillary a couple of days ago, and she said that she had not received them yet. So I don't know if they're would be agreed to or contested.
Are any of those a motion to suppress? Or a motion to quash?
I know there's not a motion to quash. There's a, it looks like they're all limines except one for a discovery of the 911 calls and discovery for the intoxilizer records. The rest of them are limines, Judge.
Okay, so the limines will carry to trial. Have you reviewed the court standing order, discovery order?
I've slept since then, yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know, perhaps your requested items may be covered by the court's standing order. I would imagine that intoxilizer report would be covered by that. Ms. Heisel, you haven't seen the motions, I'm assuming, so you can't really say for sure.
That's correct, Your Honor. When things get e-filed, unless specifically served on my email, they go to the district attorney email. So they very well may be in Miss Curry's queue, but she has not forwarded those along to me. And for whatever reason, I can't get into the district clerk's office right now to look at those. So we would be unopposed to another pretrial setting just to make sure we have all that covered. But that shouldn't be a problem. Mr. Eastland and I usually run the same, he usually runs the same motions and I'm familiar with them.
So, okay, this is what I'll do rather than another pretrial setting. I'm gonna go ahead and set it for docket call. And then if Mr. Eastland, you feel like you do need a contested hearing on one of these motions that we weren't able to address today, then you'll just file that request with the court and the court will grant you leave to do a contested pretrial hearing, okay?
Thank you, Judge. Meanwhile, I'll get with Hillary and we'll go over all these, see if there's any to contest.
Are you available on either March 11th, 23rd, or 25th?
That for me?
No, I'm sorry, for Mr. Eastland. Unfortunately, Mr. Castro, you have to be available.
No, that's fine.
I have a trial set for Wednesday, the 10th, which could run over to the 11th if that case goes. Otherwise, I will be free on the 11th. And same for the 23rd. I've got a trial in Cherokee County District Court on the 22nd, which may or may not go. So I would suggest let's set it on the 11th. And if I get hung up, I'll call you.
Okay. Court will then set Mr. Rodriguez Castro for docket call on March 11th. And on that date, that's when I would like to hear that all discovery's been exchanged and all negotiations have been had. And we're either going to resolve the case by plea or we're going to request a bench trial or a jury trial.
Well, at this point, it would be a jury trial. At what time on the 11th?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Just like today.
All right.
All right, Mr.
All right.
Castro, you're free to go.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you,
Hillary,
Mr.
I'll get with you later.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manning, who do you have?
Jonathan, we cannot hear you.
My apologies, Judge. We're here on Christopher Morgan, and we're here for an announcement. My client wants to go pro se, but if Judge doesn't grant that, we're going to do an arraignment.
All right, let me see if I can bring in Mr. Morgan here. There's someone named Christopher. We'll find out. while he's coming in, Mr. Weiner, I see that I do have a Wendy Jones in next, so we'll bring her right in.
Hooray. Thanks, Judge.
All right, are you Christopher John Morgan?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Morgan. This is cause number CR 2403, State versus Christopher John Morgan. We are set for arraignment today. And Mr. Morgan, I believe that the court has appointed you, the Honorable Jonathan Manning. I don't know if you're on a computer or a telephone device, but if you can't see your attorney, he's present in here. You may have to swipe left or right, and his name is on the screen. You've seen? Okay. All right. Mr. Manning, have you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Morgan about the arraignment for his third-degree assault family violence charge?
Yes, Judge, we spoke yesterday via telephone after I was appointed and received the order and indictment. We went over the indictment. His name is spelled correctly. He's going to be pleading not guilty at this time, and he understands the charge as it is against him.
Okay. The court's going to find that Mr. Morgan has been formally arraigned and that he's waived the requisites of arraignment. Court's going to set Mr. Morgan for a pretrial hearing on, would you prefer the 23rd or the 25th, Mr. Manning?
The senator.
Judge, if we can do the 25th.
Mr. Manning, is your client aware of the conditions of pretrial release assigned to him?
Judge, we have not gone over the conditions of pretrial release, and we didn't have an opportunity. I haven't been given those, and we haven't been given an opportunity to go over those at this point.
Okay. All right. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to set Mr. Morgan then for a pretrial hearing on March 25th at 9 a.m. Mr. Morgan, there are conditions of pretrial release that are associated with your bond in this case. That means that you're going to have to report to a pretrial release officer while you're under indictment and the case is pending. I'm going to order you to report to the pretrial supervision office, which is in Canton, located at 250 East Groves. You can also look them up online, give them a call, and they can give you additional directions on when to report. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want you to stay in contact with your attorney, Mr. Manning, and we'll see you back. You'll appear via Zoom again on March 25th. Mr. Manning will be provided that Zoom ID number.
Judge, and before we go, can we take the issue of my client's right to self-representation?
Yes. Mr. Morgan, go ahead and raise your right hand. I'm going to place you under oath. Mr. Morgan, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Morgan, I got a point on your case yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I contacted you via telephone. We spoke, and you very clearly stated that you wanted to represent yourself, that you didn't need an attorney, and that you wish to proceed without an attorney. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't need an attorney because she said she's got the charges. She's not pressing charges, anything like that.
Mr. Morgan, I'm gonna ask you to stop just right there. Without going into details of your case, you feel like you could best represent yourself, and that you don't think you need an attorney.
Right.
Okay. And you're aware that if you have a right to waive an attorney, but if you waive an attorney, you will be required to represent yourself in the same rules of evidence and laws as any other attorney in the state of Texas.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Mr. Morgan, I have some questions for you. Do you understand that the range of punishment in this charge, if you are convicted, is confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a period not to exceed 10 years or less than 2 years? You understand?
Right.
You understand if you're convicted, you could be sentenced up to 10 years in prison. You could also be fined up to $10,000. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you also understand that if the alleged victim in this case comes and says that she wants to drop the case or he wants to drop the case, whoever it may be, and doesn't want to go forward in your prosecution, do you understand that the state of Texas does not have to accept that, and the state of Texas could subpoena him or her and put them on the stand and require their testimony? Do you understand that?
All right.
You do understand that?
Yes, sir.
So now I want you to consider this. If there's an affidavit of non-prosecution, or the victim decides that he or she doesn't want the case prosecuted, and the state of Texas declines that and says, no, we're going to go forward in your case, and we intend to prosecute you, and we intend to put you in prison. Do you want to represent yourself before a jury under the Texas Rules of Evidence and the Texas Rules of Criminal Procedure and be held to the same standard as an attorney throughout the entire prosecution and trial? Or, before you answer that, would you like to maybe think on this and sleep on it and talk to your attorney, Mr. Manning, and determine what you think is in your best interest?
But I think I'm gonna continue thinking on it.
I think that's wise. I think that's wise, Mr. Morgan. So if you continue thinking on it, I want you to continue working with Mr. Manning. If later you decide you still want to represent yourself after having spent considerable time and thought and getting advice on that matter, and you decide you still want to represent yourself, then you'll bring that issue back before the court and we'll go to the next step, okay?
Yes, sir.
So between now and the 25th, I want you to stay in contact with Mr. Manning, and I want you to report to the pretrial release office in Canton at 250 East Gross.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I believe their phone number, I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, it is 903-567-4066. I would recommend calling them and asking for the pretrial release officer, and then, set up some time. With the inclement weather, I'm not sure if they're open today and how that works, but give them a call. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. All right. We'll see you back on the 25th via Zoom.
All right.
Thank you, Judge. May we please be
You're welcome.
excused?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Manning. All right, Mr. Weiner, I'm going to try to bring in Ms. Jones.
Thanks, Judge.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Good morning, Ms. Jones. Can you see and hear me okay?
It keeps bouncing in and out. Sorry.
It's okay. We'll give you a moment and see if we can't get it connected.
Okay, is that better?
Yes. All right, good. All right,
Sorry.
this is cause number CR 13368, State versus Wendy Marie Jones. And Ms. Jones, your attorney, Mr. Weiner, is present in our courtroom today, our online courtroom. If you can't see him, you may have to move left or right on your phone, but I assure you that he's here. And Weiner, you can see your client, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, I can.
All right. Any announcements on this motion to revoke?
Your Honor, this is a first setting. One of the underlying allegations on the motion to revoke is a new offense. I believe the state received that case yesterday or the day before. They're going to be tendering me that discovery. We have an agreement to pass this case, so I have sufficient time to review that and that we can negotiate with the state.
Judge, that is the state's understanding as well.
All right, Mr. Weiner, are you available on either March 23rd or 25th?
The 23rd would be great.
Okay. All right, Ms. Jones, the court's going to set your case again for motion to revoke hearing on Tuesday, March 23rd at 9 a.m. You'll also appear via Zoom that day unless Mr. Weiner gives you different instructions, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. And make sure that, while you're still on probation, you need to be reporting and paying and drug testing, doing all those same things that you were ordered to do. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. You're free to go.
Thank
You're
you, sir.
You're very welcome. Is that all you have, Mr. Weiner?
It is. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Y'all stay warm.
Yes, sir. You as well. All right, Mr. White, I believe I have Mr. Sorrells, and Mr. Sorrells is a plea today, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Let me see if I can bring Mr. Sorrells in.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Searles, can you see and hear us? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to give you a chance. There you go. Thank you for getting that phone stapled. All right, this is cause number CR 20-90, State of Texas versus Dustin Carroll Sorrells. Mr. Sorrells, I'm going to have you raise your right hand. I'm going to place you under oath at this time. Mr. Sorrells, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Yes,
All right, you may put your hand down. All right, the court's going to entertain the plea agreement today, Mr. Sorrells, so I have a few questions for you. Mr. Sorrells, are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
Do you read, write, and speak English?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition?
PTSD.
Okay. Are you currently undergoing any type of treatment or receiving any medication for PTSD?
No, Your Honor.
Do you feel like your PTSD has in any way prohibited your or inhibited your understanding of the plea agreement in this case?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And in this case, you're represented by your attorney, Mr. Nolan White. Do you feel like you've had enough time to talk to him about your case and have all of your legal questions answered?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you pleased with his representation of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is there anything about the paperwork that you have signed and read that you do not understand?
No, Your Honor, I understand.
Okay. And I'm going to show you your signature that appears on some of these documents. Would you tell me that that is your true and correct signature?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor, that is my correct signature.
Okay. And you've signed these documents only after having read them and had them explained to you and agreeing to them. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sorrells. Mr. White, do you believe your client to be competent today?
Your Honor, I believe Mr. Sorrells is mentally competent. I've had no issues whatsoever or concerns about his ability to understand the proceedings that are pending. I also believe that the rights that he has waived in the documents before the court have been done so knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily.
Thank you. And you've explained to him the advantages and disadvantages of a deferred adjudication plea?
I did, Your Honor. Most notably, if he violates any term or condition, the court will hold a hearing to determine whether or not he violated the term or condition that's stated in the state's motion to adjudicate. And if the court finds that he did so, in fact, violate, the court would have the entire range of punishment. In this case, if the court goes along with the plea agreement, it will be a state jail felony, which is up to 2 years in the state jail and a fine not to exceed $10,000.
Thank you, Mr. White. I do appreciate that. Mr. Sorrells, as Mr. White has correctly stated, that you are charged by indictment with a state jail felony offense of abandoning or endangering a child with criminal negligence, which carries a range of not less than 6 months or more than 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Division, and also carries an optional fine not to exceed $10,000. Do you understand that full range of punishment?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand the plea agreement to be that you're going to plead guilty to that case, to that charge, in exchange for the state's recommendation that the court review the evidence, and if it finds that there is enough evidence to convict you, that the court not convict you, defer a finding of guilt, and place you on community supervision for a period of 4 years with a $2,500 fine, court cost, and reimbursement fees? Is that your understanding of the plea agreement today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Sorrells, at this time, I'm going to ask you, how do you plead to that charge? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And Mr. Sorrells, are you pleading guilty to that charge because you are in fact guilty of that charge?
I feel as if I'm not, but I will state that I am.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. That's problematic for me, Mr. Sorrells. All right, so I need to know for sure that you are taking full responsibility and accepting guilt because in fact you are guilty, feeling like you're not, but accepting it to get a certain plea agreement or bargain is something that the court cannot allow. So what I'm going to do, Mr. White, is I'm going to put you and Mr. Sorrells in a breakout room. And
Okay.
you and he to speak about that. And then Mr. White, just return to the main courtroom when you've had enough time and I'll know you're ready. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Give me just one moment. I'm going to set that up for you. All right, Mr. Sorrells, you're going to get an invitation to attend a breakout room. I want you to accept it when it pops up on your device. All right, let me see who else we have. We have, I don't see any other attorneys. Who are they? William Petty. I see William Petty. Do I have those in here? Do I have the extension paperwork in here? I've got to have that or I won't know what we're doing. She's over there. State, it's my understanding that we have 2 probation extensions. However, I don't have any paperwork on that. Are either one of you aware of the terms that we're extending?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right, we'll get Ms. Burns then to send us something over so I can admonish these individuals. Let's see, do we have any attorneys? We have Jeff, somebody named Jeff in there. I'm not sure if that's Jeff Sanders. Let's see. Maybe Mark Calabria, Mark's iPad. Good morning, Mr. Sanders.
Good morning, Judge.
Give me just one moment and I'm going to call your clients if they are here. All right, Mr. Sanders. And Mr. Sanders, I'll tell you just a YouTube tip that helps me is if you'll put your last name in your device when you sign in, I'll know who you are and I'll get you in quicker because I've got defendants named Jeff and I don't know who I'm pulling in. So if you'll put your first and last name or that'll help me and I'll make sure you get in a lot quicker.
Okay.
Let's see here. You've got James Gray, and I do have James Gray online. Let me pull him in. Is that all you have today is Mr. Gray?
Judge, I think I was appointed yesterday for an arraignment on Devontae Wright.
Okay, we'll see.
Today.
I'm not sure he's there, but we'll find out. All right, let's give Mr. Gray a moment to get set up.
Hello?
Mr. Gray, can you see and hear me okay? This is Judge Chris Martin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Get your device real still. Kind of give you a chance to set that down and get it real stable for me. I didn't bring my Dramamine with me today.
Yeah, no problem. All right.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. All right. Mr. Gray, this is cause number CR 17147, State versus James Cody Gray. We're appearing online. And Mr. Sanders is present in this hearing as well. If you can't see Mr. Sanders, you may have to swipe left or right if you want to see your attorney. Mr. Sanders, any announcement on Mr. Gray's motion to revoke?
Judge, I've been talking with Ms. Heisel, and I think we've got something worked out, an agreement worked out. We don't have all the paperwork done at this point, but we're in the process, I believe, of getting something resolved with an agreement. I don't know if we could reset it for a few weeks and get everything finalized.
All right. The upcoming dates that I have available are March 9th, 11th, 23rd, or 25th. Any of those more desirable than the other?
The 11th would be good. And
Well,
then
you're-
the
Mr.
25th. Oh, I'm
Mr. Gray.
sorry.
It's all right, Mr. Gray. Yeah, unfortunately,
sorry.
you're gonna, Mr. Gray, you're gonna be here when I say you're gonna be here. But
I'm sorry.
I know. What I'm trying to do is coordinate with Mr. Sanders because he's got other James Grays throughout the world that he has to work on their cases. So I'm
Right, yes.
sure that he can be here for you. Mr. Sanders?
And actually, Judge, I was going to say the 11th because I think I've already, from earlier in the week, been set one or two others for the 11th. So that
Sounds
would
like-
actually be fine.
Sounds like you were peer pressure to me, Mr. Sanders. Go
That's right.
ahead and I will,
Yeah.
we'll set Mr. Gray then for March 11th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Gray, stay in contact with Mr. Sanders. He'll be provided the Zoom ID number for that hearing. And you'll appear via Zoom unless Mr. Sanders gives you different directions and instructions, okay?
Yes, sir.
And Judge, I assume then if we have everything all worked out and all the paperwork done, we would just need to meet at the courthouse for that.
Unless you get the paperwork done beforehand, if it's a matter of probation or doing time, if it's a matter of doing time, then he could report to the jail. If it's a matter of being back on probation, then you can do the paperwork either before the hearing, or you could have him come up to the courthouse on the day of the hearing and appear in the video conference room.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So March 11th, Mr. Gray will we'll either see you here in the courthouse or we'll see you via Zoom. Mr. Sanders will give you further directions on that.
Yes, sir.
All right. You're free to go, Mr. Gray.
Uh-huh.
Better go ahead and do him a favor. Close that out before he loses his offer. All right. And Mr. Sanders, I do not see your appointed case, Mr. Devontae Wright. Did you say you had conversations with him yesterday?
Oh, no, I just had received a notice of appointment yesterday.
All right. I do.
Before this morning.
I have a Jamie iPhone.
Judge, I show him set at 1:30. That's probably why he's not on there.
Okay.
I show him set at 9.
The docket, that's the word I'm looking for. Docket that Ms. Abraham sent out yesterday afternoon shows him in jail.
Okay.
Well, she was here with me. I wonder if I show him on bond with A. Springer bail bond. Devontae, we're talking about Devontae Trayvon Wright, correct?
Yes.
Hang on just one second. Mr. Abraham says he is out of jail, so he may appear at 1 today via Zoom. If he does, then what I may do, Mr. Sanders, I don't believe that you're on this afternoon's docket, are you?
No, I don't think so.
What I may do then is if he appears at 1, I may ask another attorney to stand in for arraignment, and we can get him arraigned and to fix him a pretrial date, and I can just send that to you.
Okay. Or Judge, I was even going to say I could exit out of this right now and just try to give him a call and see if we can get something set up for him to go ahead here this morning, if I can get in touch with him. So.
Okay, sure. That'd be fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and try to do that, and we'll see what we can get worked out.
Hang on, Mr. Sanders, just one second.
Okay.
Ms. Abraham was just telling me that she spoke with him yesterday and informed him to appear via Zoom, and so he should know. And he could be logged in as maybe Jamie iPhone or something. I'm not sure, but if you'll give him a call, and if he's logged in under someone else's device, just let me know. And if you want to, you can just turn your camera off and stay in the hearing. That way, if he is logged in as someone else, then you can let me know.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good then. Thanks.
Okay. All right, Mr. Calabria. Good morning, sir. I'm gonna get you unmuted there.
How's that?
That is much better. I'm looking for Wendy Ledoux. Is Wendy Ledoux with you in your office?
She's here. She's here, Your Honor.
Okay, can I see her?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Okay, all right, thank you. You can go and have a seat. All right. This is cause number CR 2173-174, State versus Wendy Staley Ledoux, and we're set for docket call today. Any announcements, Mr. Calabria?
Yes, sir. I believe the state and I have reached an agreement in this case. However, I'm going to need to ask the court to give me some additional time so that we can complete our plea agreement. It involves the issue of restitution. I spoke to Ms. Heisel recently, and she, I believe, is aware of the situation, and I'll let her speak to that as well. But if we could have at least 2 or 3 more weeks, I believe we'll be ready to see our plea of no contest. And I'm not familiar, Judge. Are you doing that Zoom, or is that something we'll need to appear in the courtroom for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way we've been handling it is if, let's say that your client was going to be doing time, okay? If that were the case, then she would appear at the Van Zandt County Jail on an afternoon docket of whatever date we set, and then she would appear via Zoom. You could appear with her at the jail, or you could appear via Zoom from your office if the paperwork's already been signed and completed. If she were going on probation, you could get the paperwork from the state, have all that signed, explain to her, have her sign everything, turn it back into me, and then she could appear via Zoom, and then I could order her to probation, and she wouldn't have to appear at the courthouse that day. If she doesn't have the ability to log on with any kind of device or computer, then she could appear at the Van Zandt County Courthouse. I have a video conference room set up across the hallway from the courtroom, and she could appear via Zoom outside the courtroom with the court, and then also with you remotely, or you could appear with her, complete the paperwork, and then we could discharge her to probation if that's the case.
Okay. It's a probation case, I believe, Your Honor, and I'll work with Ms. Heisel in the clerk's office to get the paperwork done. So we plan to be ready to proceed the next time.
Okay. And if she is going to go probation, if you get the paperwork, we could go ahead and have her printed and everything before. And then if she needed to work that day, she could, we could conduct a plea, and then I could order her probation. Paperwork's done, and then she could just report.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I have a couple dates in March. How's March 11th?
Judge, not a good day for me. I heard you use it earlier. Is there another date?
Yes, sir. We've also got March 23rd and March 25th. And we may be able to, we could probably do it earlier than the 11th if you wanted to. I know you need more time, but we could also do March 9th.
The 23rd works fine, Your Honor. Excuse me. I was just looking at my calendar.
No problem. All right, Ms. Ledoux, we'll set her for then plea on March 23rd at 9 a.m. And if she's going to appear via Zoom, then my coordinator will have that Zoom ID number for you, Mr. Calabria. You can always contact the court. Or if she's going to appear at the courthouse that day, then she could just appear, and we'll direct her where she needs to go.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Right. And if she is going to appear at the courthouse, if you just let my coordinators know, then we'll make the arrangements for that.
Okay. We'll figure it out one way or the other, and try to get with Miss Heisel as well, and finish up our agreements.
Okay. All right. We'll see everyone back then on March 23rd. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Y'all stay warm.
You as well. Mr. White, are you ready on Mr. Sorrells?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, let me go find your client. I'm going to bring him back to this main session. All right, Mr. Sorrells, you're back with us. Can you still see and hear us okay?
Yes, Your Honor. I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. All right, Mr. White, we're back on the record at CR 290. Mr. White, have you had an opportunity to speak with your client regarding his plea? And what would you indicate to the court as our plan moving forward?
Your Honor, we're going to go forward with the plea. We went into the breakout room. I spoke with Mr. Sorrells. There was some confusion about the mental state that was required in this. We're proceeding on the state jail, which is criminal negligence. And we talked about that. It was a conversation that we had, a continuation of a conversation we had when he came in, he signed the plea papers. He has indicated to me after going back over that again, that he desires for the court to go ahead, and he's going to go ahead and enter his plea of guilty, but I know the court's got to go through its admonishments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. White. All right, Mr. Sorrells, you understand that the court placed you under oath previously, and that you understand that your testimony from here on out is still under oath. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Sorrells, in this case, you were actually indicted by the grand jury with a third-degree felony offense of injury to a child. However, the plea agreement in this case is to a lesser charge of abandoning or endangering a child with criminal negligence, which is a state jail felony offense. Previously, I asked you if you were pleading guilty to that charge because that you felt like you were guilty. And at that time, you told me that you didn't feel like you were guilty, but you were going to go ahead and say that you are. And that's when we stopped, and I gave you an opportunity to speak with Mr. White. Have you had enough time to talk with him to clear up any issues that you have regarding the legality of your plea and what a plea of guilty means?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And is it your intention, if I ask you again, how do you plead? Is it your intention to plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to ask you at this time to the state jail felony offense of abandoning or endangering a child with criminal negligence. Mr. Sorrells, how do you plead to that lesser charge? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Okay. And Mr. Sorrells, are you pleading guilty to that charge because you're telling the court you are guilty of that charge, and you're not just telling me that you're guilty so that you can get a certain plea agreement or result? Is that correct?
No, yes, that's correct. I'm guilty for the charge.
Okay. And Mr. Sorrells, has anyone threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to make you feel like you had to plead guilty to this charge?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. The court will accept Mr. Sorrells' plea of guilt. Mr. White, is there any objection to States 1, the stipulation of evidence in this case?
No, sir, there's no objection.
All right. States 1 is admitted into evidence, and the court will take judicial notice of Mr. Sorrells' judicial confession. State, at this time, can you tell me whether or not we have victim compliance, whether or not the victim is supportive of this plea, and whether or not there have been any issues that the court needs to be aware of that would appear outside of the stipulated evidence?
Judge, I believe Ms. Taberham, I don't know if she's at the courthouse or not, but she was forwarded the victim impact statement by our office yesterday.
I had that.
Okay. And outside of that, the victim is, or actually it's the victim's mother. The victim actually is a very young child. The victim's mother is aware of the plea negotiation, and she's aware that we are proceeding today with this plea.
And does she support the plea or not support the plea or have no opinion?
Judge, I can tell you, I don't know the answer to that. I know that Ms. Cheney is the one who has been speaking with her. There were some complaints made to both the probation department and our office about Mr. Sorrells. However, our office reviewed the evidence that was presented to us and feels confident that this plea is in the interest of justice moving forward today.
All right, is there anything further from the state,
No, Your Honor.
from the defense?
No, sir.
All right, and Ms. Heisel or Mr. Woodwife, would one of you give me the, oh, actually, I'm sorry, I have that here. Give me just one moment. I'm going to review the stipulation of evidence briefly. All right, based on the court's review of the evidence and the recommendation of the DA's office, the court will follow the recommended plea in this case. The court finds that there is sufficient evidence to convict Mr. Sorrells of this offense. However, the court will defer a finding of guilt, will place Mr. Sorrells on 4 years community supervision. Court will assess a $2,500 fine, $290 court cost, and orders reimbursement fees of $35. Mr. Sorrells, you had an opportunity to speak with your attorney, Mr. White, about the conditions of your community supervision and what's expected of you on that. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
And Mr. Sorrells, have you ever been on community supervision or probation before?
No, Your Honor.
And so I've heard Mr. White explain it to me in front of you, so I can trust that he's explained it to you that if you violate your community supervision, the state can file a motion and come in and tell me about it. And if they prove it to me, the court could revoke this probation that I'm giving you and can sentence you up to 2 years in a state jail prison. You do understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Sorrells, you're hereby remanded to the custody of the Van Zandt County Community Supervision and Corrections Department so they can carry out the terms and conditions of the sentence. I'm going to order you to report to the Van Zandt County Probation Department before noon tomorrow. So I believe that they're likely closed today. The county is closed, so I'm assuming that they are closed as well. So they should be open in the morning, but they're going to close at noon. Okay, so this is what I'm going to recommend that you do, and Mr. White can assist you further, is I'm going to ask you to call their office today at 903-567-4066 and ask them about when they want you to report so you can process in and follow their directions. If you do not get a hold of them, then I believe their office will open at 7 in the morning. So if you have to work around your work schedule, then you should be there as early as you can, check in and follow their directions thereafter. Okay. So that number again is 903-567-4066. And their address is 250 East Groves, 250 East Groves. And that is located 2 blocks north of the courthouse here in Canton, behind the Exxon Mobil. All right, do you understand those instructions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, Mr. Sorrells, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. White.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any more this morning?
I do. I've got 3 more cases, Your Honor.
Okay. Just 1 second. Let me sign this paperwork real quick and We'll find the next ones. All right, Mr. White, I do see Mr. Foxworth, Slayton. I had a Stephen Slayton in here earlier. I have Mr. Foxworth, Mr. Slayton, and do not see Mr. Zarate. What is Mr. Jaime? Okay, I do have
It's Jaime.
Jaime. I do have Jaime iPhone. So who do you want to proceed on first?
Let's proceed on Mr. Zarate.
Okay. All right, Mr. Zarate. Okay, good. Mr.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Your attorney is also here with us, Mr. White. If you can't see him, you may have to move left or right on your screen on your device. All right, this is cause number CR 2278, State versus Jaime Zarate Jr. We're set for a pretrial today, Mr. White.
Your Honor, my understanding obviously is that we operate under the court's standing discovery order. I believe that what the state has right now, they've given to me. I don't anticipate filing any sort of contested motions in this case. Mr. Woodwhack and I have spoken about this situation. This is an unusual case. There's some moving parts in it. There's also possibly a chunk of restitution that we're going to have to sort of work out kind of what we're going to do with that in order to reach an agreement, or the possibility of reaching an agreement. I believe the court said that it's got a date on March 25th. I would ask the court to set it for docket call on that day, but to kind of make sure we're on the right track. But I will tell the court that after my conversation with Mr. Woodwhack yesterday, I do believe that any possibility of a resolution will have to do with getting this restitution situation ironed out. So there's a likelihood that we'll ask for more time, but I think it will be appropriate to set it for the 25th.
Any objection from the state?
No, Your Honor, that sounds reasonable to the state.
All right, Mr. Zarate, the court's going to order you to reappear via Zoom on Thursday, March 25th.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that will be for a docket call. And Mr. White will be provided with the Zoom ID number. You stay in contact with him and he'll tell you what number to zoom in on, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Zarate, make sure you stay in contact with Mr. White and your pretrial supervision officer, and you're free to go.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like Mr. Foxworth or Mr. Slayton?
Mr. Slayton, Your Honor.
Mr. Slayton, can you hear us? All right, Mr. Slayton, if you'll just unmute your device.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I don't know how to work this stuff.
It's okay. You're doing fine. This is cause number CR 2194, State versus Stephen Kyle Slayton. We're set for docket call today, Mr. White. Mr. Slayton, if you can't see Mr. White, you may have to move left or right on your device if you want to see him, but he's here with us. Go ahead, Mr. White.
Your Honor, Ms. Heisel and I have had some further discussions about the possibility of a resolution on this case. Believe that we're making some movement. We are not prepared to announce ready for trial, as I do think that I need to be able to sit down with my client and discuss what Ms. Heisel and I had discussed yesterday afternoon after a fairly lengthy discussion about this situation. I think Ms. Heisel would agree that that would be beneficial for both parties.
That's correct, Your Honor. We're not opposed to a reset. There is a fairly significant amount of restitution requested in this case, so I think a reset would be appropriate.
Okay, Mr. Slayton, the court's going to reset you to March 25th at 9 a.m. You'll appear via Zoom on that day as well, unless Mr. White gives you different instructions. If you resolve the case and need to sign paperwork or whatever, he's going to direct you on what to do and where to be. And he'll also have a Zoom number if we're to appear via Zoom. All right. So I want you to stay in contact with your attorney. I also want you to stay in contact with your pretrial supervision officer. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. All right, Mr. Slayton, you're free to go. We'll see you back on March 25th.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. I'm trying to bring in Mr. Foxworth for you. All right, Mr. Foxworth, if you can get settled for me and get that device still, and then we'll begin.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, can you see and hear me okay?
I can.
All right, your attorney, Mr. White, is also with us. If you can't see him on your device, you may have to move left or right. This is cause number CR 2335, State versus Joshua Ryan Foxworth. We're set for pretrial today. Mr. White, go ahead.
Your Honor, I believe the state has provided us what's required under the court standing order as far as discovery goes at this time. We do not have any additional motions that we're going to file. We'd ask the court set for docket call on 325.
All right, court sets Mr. Foxworth then to appear via Zoom on March 25th at 9 a.m. unless the case is going to be resolved. If it's going to be resolved, then Mr. White will give you further instructions on where to be and when to be. You understand, Mr. Foxworth?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to stay in contact with Mr. White, and I'll also want you to stay in contact with your pretrial release officer, and you're free to go.
Your Honor, very quickly, Josh, stay by your phone. I need to call you here pretty quick, okay?
All righty.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. White, is that all you have today on the morning docket?
I believe so. I don't believe I have anything on the afternoon either.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good
Yes,
day.
You too. Be safe.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Sanders, I see Mr. Wright logged in. Let me bring him in for you. And I'll assist you. Do you have a copy of the indictment there with you at all, Mr. Sanders?
I do, yes.
Okay. All right, what I made, give me a second. I'm going to pull up his case so we can view it online together. And Mr. Wright, I'm going to have you get seated as soon as you can and real still for me. All right, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have you unmute your device.
Yes, sir. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, I can see and hear you fine.
Good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wright. All right. If I'm the only one that you can see, you can move left or right on your phone and you can see the other people who are in this hearing, including your attorney, Mr. Sanders.
Okay.
Okay. So if you move left or right, you should be able to see more people. This is cause number CR 18344, State versus Devontae Trayvon Wright. And we are set for arraignment today. And the court has appointed the Honorable Jeff Sanders as counsel for Mr. Wright. And Mr. Sanders, are you prepared to present the indictment to your client today and go through arraignment?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to have Mr. Wright's indictment displayed so that he can view this with us. Mr. Wright, can you see this document on your screen?
Yeah, let me see. Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. All right. And this is the indictment in cause number CR 18344. All right, go ahead, Mr. Sanders.
Judge, and I did have, whenever we talked on the phone a few minutes ago, I did have a chance to go over the indictment with him as far as reading the contents of it. And Judge, we also discussed the fact that it's a state jail felony, talked about the punishment range. And Judge, we would waive the formal reading of the indictment, waive the formalities of arraignment, and then enter a plea of not guilty at this time.
And he does confirm that his name is spelled correctly in this indictment?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. All right. The court will enter Mr. Wright's plea of not guilty into the record, and we will set this for a pretrial hearing. Mr. Sanders, I set you for 3:11 earlier. I want to make sure that you have enough time to get discovery and file your motions. Would you like a little more time than that? Or do you believe that's sufficient?
I think the 11th will be fine, Judge.
Okay. All right. Then we'll set Mr. Wright then for pretrial on March 11th. Mr. Wright, you will appear via Zoom again that day. And
Okay.
order you to stay in contact with your attorney, Mr. Sanders, and he'll be able to provide the Zoom ID number to you.
Okay.
And if Mr. Sanders is busy and unable to provide that to you, you can always call the court coordinator and we can give it to you as well. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Make sure that you stay in contact with your pretrial release officer as well so that your bail doesn't get revoked. Okay.
Hello. Come. How you? What you say again, Judge?
I want you to stay in contact with your pretrial supervision officer. There are conditions of pretrial release. Have you been presented with those? Have you signed?
You talking about with the bond, with my bondsman?
No, I'm talking about with the probation department. There's a set of conditions that have been attached to your bond. So when you bonded out and the court appointed Mr. Sanders to represent you, the court also ordered you to comply with conditions of pretrial release, which mean that you have to report while you're pending. In this case, that you have to be drug tested and to make payments towards your county paid attorney. And so if you have not done that, I want you to speak with Mr. Sanders about that and he can give you more.
Okay.
Do you have a pen and paper with you?
I can go get my pen out my room.
Yes, sir. If you'll go get that.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Wright, this is what I want you to write down. I want you to write down this phone number, 903
903
567
Okay.
4066.
Okay.
And that's to the pretrial release office. Call them, tell them who you are, and then I ordered you to contact them. And then they're going to tell you when to come in and sign conditions of your pretrial release and go over those with you. Mr. Sanders, we'll have a copy emailed to you so that you can go over those with Mr. Wright. And then Mr. Wright, once you contact them, they're going to tell you when to come and report, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So I can call them. Can I call them when I get off the phone?
Yes, sir. Try to call them today. A lot of the county offices are closed today. They may not answer. They may not be there. If they don't, just leave a message. And then if you don't get a hold of them today and you can't leave a message, then call again first thing in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And so as long as you're making an effort to report and do what you're supposed to do, you don't have any concerns. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. I got you.
All right. We'll see you back on March 11th and you stay in contact with Mr. Sanders and he'll make sure you're taken care of.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Wright. You have a good day.
You have a nice day.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you for making that arrangement, getting that done, Mr. Sanders. I really do appreciate you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I think he had set things up with Zoom where he was the host, and so it took a little while. We got it all figured out with the having to join the meeting with the number.
If he wants us to join his meeting, I'm fine with that too. You know,
well, that's what I was going to say. We could just join his. So.
A lot of people would like to mute me. I'm sure of it. So, okay. All right. Thank you, Mr.
On mute.
That's out of line, Mr. Woodwike. Mr. Sanders, do you have anything this afternoon? I don't believe you do.
No, I don't.
Great. Hey, stay warm. And for when is your birthday, Mr. Sanders?
Actually, it was Monday.
Oh, it was this past Monday.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, happy late birthday. I'm going to give you a picture for your wall for your birthday.
Perfect.
You can count on it.
All right. All right.
All right. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day. Thanks.
Bye. All right. We have Casey Ashmore. Let me bring Mr. Ashmore in and Mr. Gould.
Hi, Judge. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ashmore. How are you, sir?
Well, I was planning on being there, so a little surprised.
Yeah, but you know, through the wondrous technology of Zoom, you're still here with us.
Right.
We're all floating heads today, but we're working, you know, so that's good.
Yes, sir.
I've got Mr. Gould in the online waiting room. Are you ready for him?
Yes, let's knock it out, Your Honor.
Have you had an opportunity to go over the indictment with him, or shall I go ahead and get that set up?
No, he came to the office and we've gone through the indictment and the nature of the allegations, and
excellent. Okay.
So we're good to go. Now, the other gentlemen have not been able to reach. So if he's in the waiting room, we've got a phone number for his mother, something like that, and it's just been very difficult to get a hold of him.
Is that Mr. Clifton Thomas?
Yes.
And I believe I had a note that he was to appear at the courthouse today. And as you know, my courthouse is closed, so I'm not sure if he's contacted us. Do you know? Ms. Abraham has reported to me on Mr. Thomas that his mother contacted the court and indicated that Mr. Thomas doesn't have access to technology. And so that's why we had him appearing at the courthouse. So we may just have to reset him due to the inclement.
Right.
I'm going to try to bring in Mr. Gould.
Okay.
Mr. Gould, can you hear me at all? If you can, raise your hand, please. He's not connected to audio. No, he's working on it now. I believe he may have an issue with his earpiece. I see he's got an earbud in. All right. Good morning, Mr. Gould. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're on your phone or tablet, you may have to swipe left or right to see other people that are involved in this hearing. Your attorney, Mr. Casey Ashmore, is present with us. This is cause number CR 2389, State versus Matthew John Gould. We're set for arraignment today. Mr. Ashmore, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Judge, I am. Good morning. Casey Ashmore for the defense. Mr. Gould has had an in-office meeting at our firm in the last few weeks. We've gone over the indictment and the nature of the charge. Mr. Gould, your name is Matthew John Jon Gould Gould, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we looked at that indictment and it appeared to be spelled correctly on that indictment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand that the charge is a second-degree felony, indecency with a child by sexual contact, with that allegation carries a punishment range of 2 to 20 years in the institutional division of the Department of Corrections, as well as a $10,000 fine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and today you're asking us to enter a plea of not guilty and allow us to continue to work with the district attorney's office in the state of Texas to resolve this matter, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all.
Court, thank you, Mr. Ashmore. All right, the court will enter Mr. Gould's plea of not guilty into the record. Court will set Mr. Gould for a pretrial hearing. Mr. Ashmore, do you have any requested date in March to do so? Can't remember what other days I've set you for in March and what your schedule. These are the dates that I have available. March 23rd, March 25th, March 11th.
I was going to ask for the 23rd, Your Honor. We're already going to be there for a few matters, including Mr. Howard and some other folks. So,
okay. All right. The court will set Mr. Gould in for a pretrial hearing on March 23rd. That's a Tuesday at 9 a.m. And Mr. Gould, you'll appear via Zoom that day again. Mr. Ashmore will have that Zoom ID. So if you'll stay in contact with him, then he'll provide that to you. You can always call the court and we can also give you that. And I'm going to ask you, are you aware that you have conditions of pretrial release that you're supposed to comply with? Are you aware of that?
No, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to give you, do you have a pen and paper?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to give you some information and you contact the pretrial release office at 903-567-4066.
I'm sorry, I missed those last four numbers.
Yes, 4066.
4066. All right.
Let me go ahead and give you their address as well. It's 50 East Groves, Groves, and that's 2 blocks north of the courthouse here in Canton. I want you to contact their office. The county offices are closed today, so if you call today, try to leave a message. If you don't get a hold of them today, then try again tomorrow. Their office will close early tomorrow, so maybe first thing in the morning if you don't get a hold of them today. They'll give you further instructions on how to sign your conditions of pretrial release and give you a report and how to stay in compliance. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gould, you're free to go, and if you'll do those things, contact them before noon tomorrow, and we'll see you back on March 23rd via Zoom.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. You're free to go. All right, let's see here. And so Miss Rumbo was to appear today at the courthouse as well.
Yes, Judge.
Is that correct? So we probably just want to reset her.
Well, Judge, while we've got Tyler in the in cyberspace there, what they call this, the Phantom Zone in Superman comics, right? So Tyler, is Stephanie or somebody at your office available?
Our office is closed all county offices are closed today by county judge order.
Darn it. Okay, well, Judge, all we need on Miss Rumbo is a corrected front judgment page, and I was hoping maybe because I have all her signatures. But if we
don't have her.
Yeah, I guess that's because she's going on probation. She'd have to thumbprint.
Well, yeah, we could get the thumbprint after, but the problem is unless she's going to log in from her home or somewhere else, she was appearing here and she was going to appear in our video conference room. So we were going to take care of the technology for her, but the courthouse is closed down
Right.
to the public.
Well, you made it in. I mean, what's everybody else's problem?
I made it in, but there were several that made it in about an hour before me. So,
I understand.
So I don't know if Miss Rumbo.
I can grab her. We've been in touch all morning, and I'll just have her log in right away. And if you want to throw me back in the phantom zone until we're done,
Do you think that she can log in today?
I'm gonna.
Now you said we also need a corrected judgment page. What's incorrect on the judgment?
The date, Your Honor. She was supposed to plea on Tuesday, so the judgment will reflect the 9th, not the 11th, which if the court has the originals, I would have no objection to the court just imposing the new date on there. But I don't know if Mr. Ashmore has the originals or if the court does.
Well, I have them all scanned in with signatures, ready to hoping to get new judgment pages today. Because I thought Your Honor might be working remotely, what have you. So I can send.
Who has the originals? Who has
the documents? I think I do.
You do?
I think I took Dell and Rumbo's original documents with me. So
can you scan those and email those to Ms. Tabraham?
I sure can.
We can print those out. I can delineate the date if that's the only issue. And then we can have her appear via Zoom. We can conduct the plea and I can have her report to probation. And, perhaps we can get her thumbprint when she arrives at probation.
Okay. That's outstanding. The same issue is with Mr. Dull. And he's on the afternoon docket, right? So he's ready to go.
Yes, we should have him via Zoom from the jail. That shouldn't be
right, but the judgment page is the problem again, right? We got 2 more days time served, and we've got a different date. And if that can be interlineated, we can do him.
Is Mr. Dole going to TDC?
He's going to TDC, and he's going 3 TDC on both concurrent, and as long as TDC will accept those judgments.
I can make those corrections.
Okay.
And so if you can get those emailed to Ms. Tabraham, we can get that done today as well.
Okay, I can do that. And then two other issues while I've got you for a second, Your Honor. Frankie Rodriguez Montgomery wanted to plea today as well, but I don't think there's any way to get her plea paperwork done. And she's at Van Zandt County Detention Facility and ready to go, except Miss Abney hasn't had, I don't think, the opportunity to finalize. We were planning on doing that this morning. And then last but not least, Justin Devine. Same issue though, the judgment cover page is wrong. And in fact, I left it with him to review because he needed to think about it. So it's not something usable, but if 30 opens sometime today, I would go over to the Hunt County Jail to resolve Mr. Devine's business in Van Zandt County while we've got him, as you say, at the lick log. I just need a judgment cover page. I have all of his signatures. I don't have a judgment cover page.
And Judge, I believe that I actually have Mr. Devine's plea on electronic copy. So I believe that I could get that. The problem is we don't have a thumbprint for Mr. Devine because he's in the Hunt County Jail. I think they could get it. I'm just worried we're going to have signatures on this copy and a thumbprint on that copy and then not be the same.
Well, I'll need to go there to do that plea. We'll have to do it from the visitation tank. And as long as they open 30 up, we've got a neighbor who's a Rockwall County Sheriff's jailer, and he left for work very early this morning. It took him 40 minutes to get to the jail, which is only about 7 miles. I think by mid-afternoon, this problem will be resolved, and maybe we can at least take a run at getting Mr. Devine's business handled. But I would need that covered judgment page, and I don't know exactly how we're going to get an ink pad back there.
Is Mr. What's his name again?
Justin Devine.
Mr. Devine, is he going to TDC?
He is going to TDC, Your Honor.
Not as, with the weather being what it is, I'm not as worried about trying to hustle that one through. He's not in our custody. He's in theirs. Unless you are, Mr. Ashmore, I wouldn't ask you to get on the road and try to get that done today. We can always set him, next week on the 18th. Hopefully the weather's fine. And that way I don't worry about you running back and forth. And any update on his COVID test that he had on Tuesday?
No update on that. When I went to see him Wednesday night, I guess it was Tuesday night. So I went back there Wednesday as well, and no result yet. So, but they're still allowing him to, at least see attorney. He could come see me, but of course we're separated by the tank.
Let's just plan on moving him.
Okay.
We'll do Mr. Dole this afternoon, Miss Musgrove.
Oh yes, that's
now Frankie Rodriguez, is that a jail or probation?
No, that's jail.
State
That's
jail.
jail.
And Judge, we have that paperwork done. It's just on my desk. I didn't plan for today to be a bad weather day.
It's on your.
It's on my desk in the county offices. Yeah. So, if we could set her for next Thursday, the 18th, we could get that switched out and do that day.
Yeah, that's probably the wisest thing to do. Is just we'll set Miss Rodriguez for the 18th, and we'll set Mr. Devine for the 18th. And that will have given him plenty of time to think about it, and then we'll just go ahead and try to get Mr. Dole done. And who else would that leave? Brianna Musgrove.
Brianna Musgrove and Miss Rumbo.
Okay, let's try to let's take on the ones that we can do today, and the ones that we're not ready on. Let's just do those next Thursday.
Okay, I'm not certain that I have Miss Musgrove's paperwork. We were, again, another one. I bet it's probably at the district attorney's office. I don't have her judgment and she is going on probation, so would need terms and conditions. She also is the lady who lives in Louisiana, and I checked the roads and the weather, and that winter storm advisory goes all the way out to Jefferson and Longview, and it puts them under possible icy conditions until 6 p.m. I don't know whether that's going to get lifted or changed or what. It seems to be. It's stopped here, but I don't know what's going on.
Who are we talking about?
Brianna Musgrove, Your Honor.
Isn't she in our jail?
No, Your Honor.
No.
She's not. She was just going to appear at the jail to go into custody.
Right. You had allowed her to come to the 1:30 docket, so the drive would not be so hard.
Judge, that's a probation. Our offer is for probation. She lives in Louisiana. She was driving from Louisiana, so we set it at 1:30 so she could have time to travel.
You said it's a probation plea? Okay.
Yes,
Let's do this then. Let's go ahead and reach her, and let's just reset her for the 18th as well. No need in
Judge.
Risk.
I'll get a hold of her, Judge. Okay, I'm going to ask the court to allow me to step away for a minute, and I'll call Miss Rumbo and see if we can get on some technology and get her done this morning. And I will send over the plea documents that we have on Miss Rumbo to Miss Tabram right now.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, Judge. Give me just a few.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Lawrence's extension and Whiten's extension.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Whiten. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, good. This is Judge Chris Martin. This is cause number CR 16242, State versus Zachary Kane Hoyden. Mr. Hoyden, you're currently on community supervision here in Van Zandt County.
Yes, sir.
I have a request here in front of me that you're wanting to extend your community supervision for a period of 1 year. And if we do that, you're going to incur additional probation fees. You're going to also incur additional urinalysis fees. Why are you asking the court to extend your probation period?
This year has been a little behind on getting things done like I should. As you, I don't remember if you remember seeing me last year. Last time you seen me, I just had a motorcycle accident. I was barely even a month after it. I didn't get released to even go back to work in May. And then coronavirus hit and things like that. It's been a pretty rough year this year.
Yes, sir. I do remember you now that you say that. So, Mr. Hoyten, if I extend your period for 1 year, do you believe that would help you get caught up and staying in compliance and avoid being revoked?
Yes, sir. Actually, I plan on staying the next month, spending most of my time doing community service. I just actually went through the motorcycle accident, just got a lawsuit through it, and have a little bit of money on a backbone cushion that I can stay on and use to kind of work through and just do my community service without having to worry about bills and stuff.
Okay. So, Mr. Hoyten, you would tell me today that you're doing this of your own free will and accord. No one's pressured you or made you feel like you had to do this?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hoyten, I'm going to go ahead and amend your community supervision conditions to extend your period of supervision from February 13th of 2021 to your new expiration date of February 12th, 2022. Court's also going to order that you pay probation fees and urinalysis fees during that time. I've signed a copy of this amendment, and next time you report to your probation officer, you can get a copy there, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hoyten. You're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Petty. Need you to unmute your device.
Yes, sir.
All right, I need you to get up out of bed, and I need you to sit somewhere. I'm not laying in bed today. You don't need to be laying in bed either. All right. Mr. Petty, this is CR 16325, State of Texas versus William Petty II. Mr. Petty, I also have before me a request to amend your conditions of community supervision that would extend your period of supervision for 6 months. That would have your new expiration date being July 17th, 2021. During that period, your probation and urinalysis fees would be waived. Why are we extending your probation period for 6 months?
Because I ain't been able to pay it off like I planned on having it paid off. Because I've been paying for health and everything, my diabetes, and like yesterday I got results back from another test, found out I got cancer, and my insurance is just now starting to kick in where they're paying for almost everything, and through my employer.
Okay. So, Mr. Petty, if I grant this extension, do you believe that it will help you pay off your financial obligations and keep you from being revoked and sent to prison?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Petty, is this what you want to do? No one's threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to do this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. The court has signed your amendment of conditions and has extended your period of probation for 6 months. Your new expiration date, ending date will be July 17th of 2021. And the next time you report to your probation officer, you can get a copy of this paperwork, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. You're free to go. Yes, I do have Justin Reed. Yes, Mr. Reed, can you pull over to the side of the road so we can have this hearing?
Yes, sir. I'm pulling over.
All right, go ahead. Tell me when you get stopped and you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
All right, if you'll go ahead and get your device real still for me, set it somewhere. I didn't put my Dramamine patch on today. All right, good. All right. All right, this is cause number CR 2406, State versus Justin Blake Reed. We are set for arraignment today. Mr. Reed, is it my understanding that you're hiring an attorney to represent you in this matter?
Yes, sir.
And who are you going to retain to hire you? I'm sorry, who are you going to retain to represent you?
I've been looking at a few. I'm just still trying to find some representation. I'm waiting on people to get back with me.
Do you know about how long it's going to take for you to get someone retained so they can start working on your case?
Hopefully by next week, hopefully.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do for you, Mr. Reed, is I'm going to reset you until March 11th. That's going to give you a little bit more time, okay? So March 11th, you're going to appear via Zoom, and you're to contact my court, and they'll give you the new Zoom ID. And whenever you hire your attorney, you'll tell them that you're appearing via Zoom.
Okay.
All right. So March 11th, 9 a.m., you'll appear via Zoom with your attorney.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, counselors, that's all I have in my waiting room. So let's wait. We'll just stand in recess until we hear from Mr. Ashmore. And then I have several individuals who did not appear today on my docket, on page 1 of my docket. That's Christina Barker, CR 15349, Dawn Darrell Dodd, CR 2383, Justin Gilmer, CR 2387, Christopher Bernard Hawkins, CR 2391, CR 2393, Jatarian Lindell Johnson. And I'm going to invite you two to a breakout room for just a moment. All right, the court's going to stand in recess until I hear back from Mr. Ashmore regarding Ms. Rumbo and any other claims. Any update on Miss Rumbo?
Yes, Judge, she's hopefully in the waiting room, and the plea paperwork is hopefully in Miss Tabram's email inbox.
Yeah, I've got the paperwork. I don't have Miss Rumbo yet. While we're waiting on her, I noticed that there is a 1245 that was not signed by anyone.
There should be one right behind it.
Yes, but I think there are two separate cases though. One's yeah, this one is signed, and this one is a tampering. This one is prohibited substance.
Dang it.
Judge, I know that I have the ability to do e-signature on a PDF via email, but I don't know about Mr. Ashmore and his client.
You know what? I can make that happen. I can make that happen. I will.
Miss Rumbo is not going to be able to though, and she's the most important one. What?
No, we should be able to. Well, if you need a wet signature, if you need an ink signature, but if the court will accept a signature through our my case, so it's a signature. She'll sign it with her finger on her smartphone, and it'll come with a page behind it that says signed by Mary Rumbo at such and such email address on date X. Can the court accept that?
Yeah, I think I can. Do you think you can get that done in 30 minutes?
I think I can get that done in 30 minutes, Judge. That's on
Let me take that back.
that
Let me take that back. Do you think you can get that done in less than 30 minutes? Because in 30 minutes, we're going to be breaking for lunch.
Yes, I think I got it. It just depends on how savvy her internet is where she is. So, but uploading that page into the my case system and then setting it up for her signature, that part will be easy. It's just whether she can get it back to me in time. Do you want me to just 1:30 docket this? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, if we can get her on now, I mean, she's still not on, but if we can get her on and get her done before 1:30, that'd be good because we got our own other fires to put out at 1:30.
Yes, Judge.
Depending on what the state wants to do, I'm comfortable just signing the 1245. It's a prohibited substance, so it's a state jail, right? Prohibited substance.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to sign that, Ms. Heisel, I'll sign that, and we can 1245 it without her signature. We can ask her if
Say, Judge, if we can just make a record.
we'll just plead her to it. We'll just plead her to it, and then I'll sign it, and I'll just put I can just mark in here, acknowledged in open court, for everyone's signature.
That works for me.
I'm good with that. Yes, Judge.
I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, but if anyone ever wanted to use it as an enhancement later, they'd have to overcome that. So no, I don't see Miss Rumbo at this time. She has the Zoom number.
She does. This was going to be her first Zoom, so maybe she's having a technical issue. I'm going to call her on the phone.
Okay, go ahead and do that and just hop back on when you're ready. What you got?
I'm hoping she's on. She's got the, I've called her twice. She said she's logging in.
Yeah, I don't see her at all.
She said she was in, Judge, and maybe I interrupted that process.
Yeah, I do not see. There's no one in my waiting room right now.
Make sure I got the right.
Yeah, let me.
No, that's the right. It's 952. Yeah, she's got the right ID and everything.
Okay. She trying to log in from a cellular device?
I think so. But she says she's got decent Wi-Fi there, and the signal seems good enough for a phone call.
Okay, we do have someone who just logged in. Let's see. Looks like she's connected to audio. Ms. Rumbo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to prompt you to start your video now. If you'll just push that button.
Okay.
Sorry. Sounds like we have an emergency siren going on. Hang on just one moment.
Okay.
Well, it may be too late for us, so we're just going to go ahead and push ahead.
Okay.
All right, Miss Rumbo, you can see and hear me okay, is that right?
I cannot see you at the moment.
You can't see me? All right, you may have to move left or right on your phone. You may see Miss Heisel, she's the state's prosecutor. You may see Mr. Ashmore, your attorney. If you're on your phone, you may have to swipe left or right. Looks like you muted yourself. I'm going to ask you to unmute again.
Okay.
There you go. I've got you. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Can you see Mr. Ashmore?
I can see you.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Ashmore is here. He's present in our hearing. Mr. Ashmore, are you ready to proceed?
Sorry, I was muted. I sure am, Judge. Ready.
Okay. This is cause number CR 2271, CR 2270, and also cause number 2020-512. State versus Mary Elizabeth Rumbo. Ms. Rumbo, I'm going to have you, if you can, just set your phone down. You find you a place to sit down and steady it. I'm going to have you raise your right hand once you do that so I can put you under oath. Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. Ms. Rumbo, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am, you may put your hand down. I have a few questions for you, Ms. Rumbo. You are, in fact, Mary Elizabeth Rumbo. Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Rumbo, are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
Do you read, write, and speak English?
Yes.
Have you ever been convicted? I'm sorry. Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition?
Well, depression, anxiety, during the past year and a half or so.
Okay. Are you currently on any kind of medication or treatment for those disorders?
Yes.
Okay. And do you feel like that medication is helping you have rational thoughts and perceptions during this time?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you understand everything that's gone on in your case and all of your discussions with your attorney, Mr. Ashmore?
Yes.
Okay. And you are represented by Mr. Ashmore. Do you feel like you had enough time to talk to him about your case and have all of your legal questions answered?
Yes.
Is there anything about the paperwork that you've reviewed and signed that you do not understand?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Ashmore, do you believe Ms. Rumbo to be competent today?
I do, Your Honor.
Throughout your representation of her throughout this last year, when she said she was suffering from depression and some other disorders, have you at any time felt like those disorders have rendered her incompetent to the point where she cannot rationally understand the proceedings brought against her?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And you've explained to her her legal and constitutional rights?
I have, Your Honor. This is a DWI. Ms. Rumbo's has one other offense in her life, but is otherwise an unblemished citizen before Your Honor. This other incident was unfortunately a DWI, but it was 28 years ago, and the circumstances that led to what the business were in front of you were, as you can see by her track record of compliance and being a good citizen, are just a culmination of a bad day and a bad day in divorce court and a bad decision after that. She was in a single vehicle accident. She's proactive about her mental health and proactive about getting her life back on track.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ashmore. It's my understanding that the plea agreement in this case is that Ms. Rumbo has been indicted with 2 felony offenses, one which is a prohibited substance in a correctional facility, and the other is a tampering or fabricating with physical evidence, both of those 3rd-degree felony offenses. However, it appears that the plea agreement is that Ms. Rumbo, who's also been charged by information with a misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated, a 2nd offense, that she would be pleading guilty to that DWI 2nd, that she would receive 1 year sentence in the county jail. That sentence would be suspended. She would be placed on community supervision for 18 months. She would pay a $3,000 fine. And then the state would recommend dismissing the 2 indicted felony cause numbers under Section 1245 of the Texas Penal Code. In addition, Ms. Rumbo would have $930 reimbursement fee and a $270 court cost. Mr. Ashmore, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Is that yours as well, Ms. Rumbo?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Rumbo, I'm going to ask you, there was a document that was not signed that needed to be signed. It's entitled Admission of Unadjudicated Offense and Motion to Dismiss. You did sign that document with regards to your tampering or fabricating with physical evidence. I'm going to kind of show you what that document looks like. And you signed that with Mr. Ashmore, is that correct?
Yes.
And what this document does is it says that you're admitting your guilt to that offense, but that the case is being dismissed because you're being convicted in the DWI case. So it means it's being dismissed, but you're also judicially admitting to committing that offense. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's also your other charge of prohibited substance or item in a correctional facility. Now, it's my understanding that it was your intent to sign that document. However, at this time, that document did not get signed. If I were to ask you today if you are guilty of committing the offense of prohibited substance or item in a correctional facility, would you tell me that you do confess to that offense?
Yes, sir. I didn't know they were there, but yes.
Okay. And so it is your request to the court to dismiss that charge, but also find that you did commit that charge. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Ashmore, do you give the court authority to sign this order dismissing after acknowledging that your client does admit to guilt in this prohibited substance charge?
Yes, Judge, I do. And just so the court's aware, these were her prescription issued pills, which she had a valid prescription for. They were in her pocket and they were on her when she was in the detention facility. And again, just a mistake, but yes, we want we want to make that judicial confession, that representation, and have this matter 1245 dismissed by 1245. Thank you.
And the state consents as well?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Rumbo, the charge of driving while intoxicated, second offense, is a Class A misdemeanor. It's important for you to know that the range of punishment for a Class A misdemeanor is confinement in the county jail for a period not to exceed 1 year and an optional fine not to exceed $4,000. Do you understand that full range of punishment?
Yes.
If the court accepts your plea agreement today and approves it, the court would place you on community supervision. And if during your community supervision, you violated the terms and conditions, the state could file a motion to revoke that community supervision. And the court, upon finding that you violated, could assess your punishment up to a maximum 1 year in the county jail. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Understanding that full range of punishment, let me ask you at this time, how do you plead to the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated, a second offense?
Guilty.
And Ms. Rumbo, are you pleading guilty to that charge because you are in fact guilty of that charge?
Yes.
Ms. Rumbo, has anyone threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to plead guilty to that offense?
No.
All right, the court will accept Ms. Rumbo's plea of guilt. Mr. Ashmore, is there any objection to the admission of the stipulation of evidence?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the stipulation is admitted as State's Exhibit 1. And the court will also take judicial notice of Ms. Rumbo's judicial confession. Ms. Rumbo, throughout the documents, I see that your name appears on some documents like this. Would you tell me that that is your true and correct signature and that you only signed that once you read it and understood it?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further from the defense?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'm gonna take just a moment and review the facts. All right, based on the court's review of the evidence, I do find that there is sufficient evidence to support this plea. Court will follow the plea agreement in this case reached between the defendant and the state. The court hereby convicts Miss Mary Elizabeth Rumbo of the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated, a second offense. The court also assesses punishment at 1 year in the county jail. Court suspends that sentence and places Miss Rumbo on 18 months community supervision. Court assesses a $3,000 fine. The court also takes into consideration under section 1245 and dismisses DA 2020-98, which is a possession of controlled substance charge, and also CR 2270, which is a prohibited substance or item in a correctional facility. Court also takes into consideration CR 2271, a tampering or fabricating with physical evidence. That brings my attention to, okay, so let me ask, DA 2020-98, is that a filed charge or unfiled charge?
Your Honor, let me look. This is Mr. Woodwike's case, and I see that he is no longer with us. So let me get you an answer on that.
The reason I ask is I don't have a 1245 order. And then if it's unfiled, then we probably just have to rely on a rejection.
Judge, can you read that number one more time?
Yes, ma'am. DA 2020-0098.
98, yes. Judge, that is unfiled. We will just reject it in our office and send the appropriate dispositions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Heisel. All right, the court also assesses court costs in the amount of $270 and orders Ms. Rumbo to pay $930 reimbursement fee to Van Zandt County. Ms. Rumbo, you're hereby remanded to the custody of the Van Zandt County Community Supervision and Corrections Department so they can carry out the terms and conditions of your sentence. Ms. Rumbo, do you have a pen and paper? I need to give you some information. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a phone number, 903-567-4066. I want you to write down this address, 250 East Groves, like the tree, Groves, and that's in Canton.
Yes.
75103. And Miss Rumbo, have you been reporting to a pretrial release officer, Mr. Waddell?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so that address I gave you is to his building. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the probation department. I need you to report to the probation department by calling that number and setting up an appointment for you to go in and to be processed. And when you are processed, they're also going to take your fingerprint and place it on this judgment. So I need you to call. Their office is closed today, so you're not likely to get a hold of someone. However, go ahead and call and leave a message, and perhaps someone can call you back. And there's a good chance that they will ask you to come in and report tomorrow. And when they do, they'll provide you with more information on the next step. Okay.
Okay.
And so it's going to be your responsibility to stay on top of that. If they don't call you back tomorrow, you continue to call every day. Now their office is going to close. If they're open tomorrow and we don't have the same weather, their office should be open like 7 to noon. If they do not call you back, then it's going to be your responsibility to pick up the phone on Monday and continue to call until you get a hold of someone. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, Ms. Rumbo, you're free to go at this time, and you just follow those orders and comply with your probation. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Ashmore, thanks for helping set up and getting that done. We'll have her fingerprinted at the probation department. Is there anyone else on this morning's docket for you, Mr. Ashmore?
I told Miss Musgrove that she would be reset, but we've been in touch via phone. So she's back, I presume by now, probably home, back home, what have you.
Did you give her the reset date of 2/18?
I told her that it would be next week and she needed to be here. So 2/18. And I told her also to be available if you needed her, in case you needed her to try to get on a Zoom.
So 2/18, did you tell her 1:30?
I did.
Okay, good.
Presuming that that would still work for your
Yes,
honors.
yes.
Okay.
Now, your other individual, Mr. Thomas, have you had any contact from him at all?
No, and I don't think he or his mom called the office, although I can shoot a quick, everybody's working remotely today.
No, let's do this. Let's go ahead and reset him for next week as well for arraignment.
Okay.
If you can get a waiver done between now and then, great. If not, just tell him to appear via Zoom. Are you available in the morning on 2/18?
I will make it work, Your Honor.
Well, and if you're not, just let me know, and then perhaps we can, we can set it at the jail. He can appear online or he can appear at the courthouse on 2/18, and we can just.
Yeah, we've just got internal deadlines, no hearings that day, so that should work, no problem, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll set him for arraignment on 2/18 at 9 a.m. And if he needs to come to the jail or needs to come to the courthouse to access the computer, tell him he can do so.
We'll do it, Judge. Thank you.
And Ms. Tabraham needs you to send her the plea paperwork on Mr. Dole.
I will do that right now. I just didn't want to inundate her with stuff.
Oh, no, you can't inundate her because the courthouse is closed. So it's either you or me inundating her, and she's tired of me. So she needs a reprieve.
Right on, Judge.
She needs a reprieve. So, okay, then I believe that will conclude your business this morning, and we'll get going again at 1:30 at the jail.
Thank you, Judge. We'll see you there.
Mr. Ashmore.
Have a good lunch. See you guys.
You as well. See you.
Judge, may this tape be excused as well?
Yeah, let me glance real quick before we go. I think that does take care of everyone. Do I need to tell her? Okay, hang on, Hillary, if you don't mind.
Okay, a Zono is
Ms. Abraham wanted to let me know, so I can let you know that Becky Louise Ozuna, she's the first one listed on our jail docket with Mr. Adams. She's being housed in Henderson County today, and they're not going to transport her to our jail today because of that. So we're going to ask them if they can Zoom. We're not sure if they can, but you may just want to make a note of that. Was there any?
do we want to bring up Frankie Rodriguez since we're resetting her?
Frankie Rodriguez, no, we will just Miss Rodriguez, is she in custody?
Just didn't know whether to tell Aaron to bring.
No, we'll just tell jail staff to not bring Miss Rodriguez up and to inform her that her plea will be conducted next week on 2/18. So, all right. Thank you, Ms. Heisel.
See you this afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, court will stand in recess until 1:30.